The crystal chandeliers of the riverside manor sparkled like 1,000 stars as Alexander Chen, 28, stood on the marble balcony overlooking his family's estate. His tailored Armani suit hugged his athletic frame perfectly, and his Patek Philippe watch gleamed in the afternoon sun. But beneath all this glamour, his heart carried a weight that no amount of money could lift. "Grandfather, are you sure about this?" Alexander asked, turning to the silver-haired man seated in a wheelchair behind him. Richard Chen, 76, patriarch of the Chen Empire worth over $500 million, smiled knowingly. His eyes, though aged, sparkled with wisdom earned through decades of reading people. "Alex, my boy, I've seen fortunes built and destroyed. I've watched gold diggers parade through this family for 3 generations. Your father married for money, and look how that ended. Before you make the biggest decision of your life, we need to know if Isabella truly loves you, or just your last name." Alexander's jaw tightened. Isabella Rodriguez had entered his life 6 months ago, like a gentle breeze in a storm. Unlike the socialites and heiresses who usually surrounded him, she was a kindergarten teacher from a modest background. Her laughter was genuine, her touch tender, and her eyes. Those warm brown eyes seemed to see beyond the billions. "She's different, grandfather. I feel it in my soul," Alexander whispered. Then she passed the test. Richard replied, his voice firm but loving. "Tomorrow, I'll come to your penthouse as a disabled, elderly man who needs full-time care. You'll tell Isabella you must take care of me personally. Let's see if she runs from responsibility or embraces it with grace." The next morning, Isabella arrived at Alexander's penthouse apartment, her arms full of fresh flowers she'd bought from her own modest salary. Her simple sundress and natural beauty stood in stark contrast to the opulent surroundings. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern art worth millions on the walls, and Italian marble under her feet. "Bella." Alexander greeted her, but his usual confident smile seemed strained. "What's wrong, my love?" Isabella asked immediately, setting down the flowers and taking his hands. This was what Alexander loved about her. She noticed feelings before possessions, hearts before wallets. "My grandfather, he's had a stroke. He needs constant care, and I'm the only family he has left. Bella, I need to bring him here. He'll need help with everything: eating, bathing, moving around. I know we were planning our engagement party next month, but Alexander Chen." "Stop right there," Isabella interrupted, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Family comes first, always. Bring your grandfather home. We'll take care of him together." Alexander's heart soared, but he maintained composure. "It won't be glamorous, Bella. It's hard work. He can be demanding, frustrated. Some days he might not even recognize us." Isabella cupped his face in her small hands.
Ah!
"I didn't fall in love with your lifestyle, Alexander.
Ah!
I fell in love with your heart, and anyone who raised a man as wonderful as you deserves all the love and care we can give." That afternoon, Richard arrived in his wheelchair, looking convincingly frail and dependent. His expensive suit had been replaced with modest pajamas, his usually impeccable grooming slightly disheveled. 2 nurses accompanied him, prepared to brief Isabella on his condition. Grandfather Alexander said, kneeling beside the wheelchair. "This is Isabella." My fiancée Isabella immediately knelt too, taking Richard's weathered hand gently. "Mr. Chen, I'm so honored to meet you. Alexander speaks of you with such love. You're home now, and we're going to take wonderful care of you." Richard played his part perfectly, his hand trembling, his words slightly slurred. Who are you?" Instead of recoiling, Isabella's eyes filled with compassionate tears. "I'm Isabella, sir. Okay, I'm going to be your granddaughter soon, and I promise you, you're not alone anymore." What happened over the next 2 weeks shocked even the skeptical Richard Chen. Every morning, Isabella arrived at 6 a.m. before her teaching job. She'd help Richard with breakfast, patiently feeding him oatmeal, even when he purposely acted difficult, letting it spill, complaining about the temperature. She never showed frustration, only gentle encouragement. "It's okay, Grandfather Chen," she'd say with a warm smile. "We'll get it right. No rush." She'd read him newspapers, tell him stories about her kindergarten students, show him drawings the children made. She treated him not as a burden, but as a treasure. One evening, Alexander watched from the doorway as Isabella helped Richard with his physical therapy exercises, something she'd researched extensively in her free time. "One more, Grandfather Chen. You're getting stronger every day," she encouraged, her hands supporting his arm with tender care. Her designer engagement ring, which Alexander had insisted on despite her protests about the cost, caught the light as she worked, but she seemed oblivious to such things. Richard, maintaining his act, grumbled, "Why do you even bother? You could be out at fancy restaurants, shopping, enjoying Alexander's money. Instead, you're here with a useless old man." Isabella stopped, sat down beside him, and took both his hands. "Mr. Chen, do you want to know why I love your grandson?" Richard nodded, genuine curiosity breaking through his performance. "When I met Alexander, I was having the worst day. My classroom had flooded. I'd lost materials I'd bought with my own money, and I was crying in a coffee shop." He sat down, this man in a $1,000 suit, and asked if he could help. Not to impress me, he didn't even tell me his name. He just listened, and then he said something I'll never forget. "My grandfather taught me that kindness is the only currency that matters." That's when I fell in love. Not with his wealth, but with the values you instilled in him. Tears, real unbidden tears, formed in Richard's eyes. "And now," Isabella continued, "I get to meet the man who created such goodness. That's not a burden, Mr. Chen. That's a blessing. Whether you remember me tomorrow or not, whether this is easy or hard, I'm honored to be here. Because this is what love means. It means showing up, even when it's difficult. It means caring for those who once cared for others." That night, after Isabella left to prepare for the next school day, Richard maneuvered his wheelchair to where Alexander sat in stunned silence. "Help me up, boy," Richard said, his voice suddenly strong and clear. Alexander watched in amazement as his grandfather stood from the wheelchair, stretching like a man decades younger. "Grandfather." "You." I lied. "Yes, to protect you." Richard walked to the window, his posture straight and commanding. "But Alexander, that girl, she's 1 in a million. 1 in a billion. I've watched her for 2 weeks. She's not pretending. When she thought no one was watching, I saw her pray for my recovery. I saw her research stroke rehabilitation on her phone during her lunch breaks. I saw her spend her paycheck on special foods she thought might tempt my appetite." Richard turned, and Alexander saw tears streaming down his grandfather's face. "She treated a stranger, a difficult, demanding stranger who was uneven really sick, with more genuine love and care than my own son showed me in 40 years. She passed every test, but more than that, she showed me something I'd almost stopped believing existed. Unconditional love. What do I do?" Alexander asked, his own voice breaking with emotion. "You marry that woman," Richard said firmly. "You marry her tomorrow, if she'll have you. And you spend every day of your life being worthy of the gift you've been given." The next morning, when Isabella arrived, both Alexander and Richard were waiting for her in the living room. Richard was standing, dressed in his finest suit, looking every bit the powerful patriarch he truly was. Isabella's eyes widened in confusion, then understanding, then hurt flashed across her face. You were testing me?" she whispered. Alexander rushed to her. "Bella, I'm so sorry." But Richard stepped forward, his voice gentle. "Young lady, I'm the one who should apologize. In my world, I've been deceived, lied to, and manipulated by people claiming to love my family. I needed to protect my grandson's heart. But what I witnessed these past 2 weeks wasn't just you passing a test. I witnessed genuine grace, real compassion, and unconditional love. You cared for a stranger as if he were your own blood, You sacrificed your time, your energy, your resources, and you did it with joy. He took Isabella's trembling hands. I don't need to test you anymore, because I already know the truth. You're not marrying into our family for money or status. You're bringing something far more valuable. You're bringing love, real love, the kind that transforms a house into a home. Please forgive an old fool for doubting you. Isabella's eyes glistened with tears. But then she smiled that radiant, genuine smile that had captured Alexander's heart. Mr. Chen, I understand. If I had a grandson as precious as Alexander, I'd protect him too. There's nothing to forgive. She turned to Alexander. But you, mister, are in trouble for making me fall in love with your grandfather twice. The room erupted in laughter and tears as Alexander pulled her into his arms. The wedding was intimate, but breathtakingly beautiful, held in a garden filled with flowers, with Isabella's kindergarten students as flower girls and ring bearers. The guest list included billionaires and kindergarten teachers, CEOs and janitors, because Isabella had taught Alexander that every person deserves dignity and respect. Richard Chen gave the toast, his voice strong with emotion. I've built a fortune. But my grandson found something richer, a woman who measures wealth in kindness, success in compassion, and prosperity in love. To Isabella and Alexander, may you teach the world what true richness really means. As Alexander and Isabella danced under the stars, he whispered, "Thank you for passing the test." Isabella smiled up at him. "Thank you for being worth finding." And Alexander, "Your grandfather didn't test me. Life tests us all every single day." The question isn't whether we'll face challenges, it's how we'll respond to them. I choose love. Always. In that moment, surrounded by genuine love and authentic connection, Alexander Chen realized his grandfather's greatest gift wasn't the fortune he'd built, it was the wisdom to recognize true wealth when it appeared, not in a bank statement, but in a kindergarten teacher's gentle hands and generous heart. Because the greatest treasures in life aren't things you can buy. They're people who stay, people who care, people who love unconditionally. And Alexander Chen had found his treasure. Like and subscribe for more videos. Where from you watching? Tell me in comment.